Well, in Pickford, just very quickly, there was an African-American farmer in Texas. I will not name him, although I know his name. He applied to be on that Texas committee, and he was turned down. He was a successful farmer, and he asked for a loan and didn't get it. He appealed to that committee, rejected. He appealed to the Texas State Committee, not heard, and then he appealed to Washington, D.C. But what happened when Ronald Reagan was president, he closed down the civil rights offices in every federal agency. So when his appeal came, there was nobody to hear the appeal. So it came to me, and I'm Secretary of Agriculture. And so I called my most trusted aide. I said, go to Texas. I want to know if this gentleman exists, if he's a successful farmer, if he was turned down 3 times, and the report came back, yes, absolutely true. So I said, we got a black farmer, successful black farmer, turned down for a loan, otherwise qualified, doing business, appealed 3 times, no. So I wrote him a check for $1 million. He got $1 million. But then it was rescinded. Before the money hit this account, the check was rescinded. This is the truth. That led to the Miller Report and Rashid Nuri. I said, we have to show that this disparity is pervasive. It's not just one person, it's many persons. Like my father had already said, like I had seen. So Rashid Nuri does a report, and the rest is history. That led to Pickford 1, the largest civil rights settlement in the history of our country. That led to Pickford 2, and Hank Sanders and Rose, and I was able to work on that one a little bit with them. The largest. So my legal fee, farmers got paid, the lawyers got paid too. I bought a Maserati, and I named it Pickford 2. So that is not the only reason some felt I had to go. I'm not standing here saying that at all. I done some great things, some not great things, like we all have. But I wasn't guilty. I knew that. And I went through a 4-year investigation. 4 years. It cost the taxpayers $26 million. It cost me $1.3 million. And there were two levels of charges. One is that I gave official favors to companies I regulated. After 4 years, they couldn't find any. There were none. So I was never charged with that. So I went on, I was charged with accepting gratuities, not bribes. The bribes is wrong. Gratuities, football tickets. And that wasn't even true. And they offered me, there were 36 felony counts. Had I been found guilty, would have gone to jail, liable to go to jail for a year for each one. There were 36 of them. The judge dropped 6 upon evidence, and the jury heard 30. And on that great day, I was exonerated of 30 felony counts, not guilty on 30. But I knew I would be, and I'm closing with this. We've been here a long time. I'm going to close with this. I knew I would be, not only because I was not guilty completely, but there are a lot of innocent people in jail. I know that. I represent some who are there. Oftentimes we get in real trouble. I mean, we all pray. If you don't pray, you should. I'm a praying guy. And I will tell you, I was elected to Congress at 29 years old, Secretary of Agriculture at 39, and I think then when I was indicted. I was 44. I said, Lord, now come on, Lord. You know I'm not guilty. I mean, what's the reason for this? I'm the Secretary of Agriculture, you know? Second largest civilian department in the federal government. I got an A rating from the newspapers, through the flood, through the fires, through the reorganization. I didn't do this. I didn't. Why is this happening to me? And I pray, and I pray, and I know I had to be patient, but you just pray. And I said, I cannot go to jail. My grandfather's name means a lot. Huddleston, Espy, my father's name means a lot. They didn't birth me for me to put this smear on their name. I cannot even plead guilty because I'm not guilty. Lord, why me? No answer for 4 years. The night before the argument in my federal trial, the night before, this is 4 years later, friends of mine from the USDA told me they were going to give me a prayer service at a church in Northwest Washington. And they said, we may ask you to say a few words. So I said, of course. So my mother, both my mother and father have passed, but my mother was there when I was in Congress, you know. She had died, and she gave me her Bible. So I knew I had to speak. So at my home, in preparation for the speech, I threw open the book of Psalms. It just fell to Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Of whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And later on it said, even my foes want to eat my flesh, and they shall stumble and fall. I said, okay, that touched me. I said, that's my psalm. I'm going to use this tonight to buck up those who are worried about me tomorrow morning. So I went to that service. I'm telling you this for a reason. I went to the service. It was at the Gethsemane Baptist Church in Northwest Washington. So I'm sitting there, and I'm going on my trial for my freedom the next morning. And there was a woman pastor. I didn't know her. And they invited her to speak, and she said, well, you know, I know what's happened, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Espy. I don't really know him. And she said, but I knew you would ask me to say something, so I was wondering what I would say to someone in his situation. And Mr. Espy, I just want to recite to you my favorite psalm, Psalm 27. All right, so I'm in church, and I heard it, but it wasn't good enough. I said, Lord, I'm going to trial tomorrow in a situation that's worse than anything I've ever been through because I'm not guilty. All these stories about what I did and didn't do, they're not true. I'm happy this female pastor is here. I'm happy you put this psalm in her mouth. But that's a very popular psalm. And I'm so fragile and ignorant in this moment. Please give me more confidence by giving me a sign. Not just a psalm in the mouth of a theologian. I need a sign that everything's going to be all right. That same night, after that service was over, I got in my car, and I was going to the Baltimore airport to pick up my fiance, now my wife. It was raining. So I left that church, and I'm headed to the freeway, and there was a car behind me, and it was following me too closely. And you know how we are, particularly men. When somebody gets in your zone of privacy, you get angry. I look behind, it is raining. I said, if I'm slipping in, I'm going to get hit in the back. So I slowed down purposely, and that car passed me. But then when a car passed me, it got in the same lane in front of me and slowed down. This is true. And now I'm really getting mad. But then I looked down and my lights flashed on the license plate of that car in front of me, and it said PSALMS 27. Same night, same psalm, direct answer to my prayer, to an ignorant guy who asked for another sign. I got to tell you, the Lord is real. He will be with you. And I promise to witness for him everywhere I can. He's with me then, he's with me now. He's with you then, he's with you now. He's with his organization then, 50 years ago, he's with his organization now. Farming is a tough life. Farmers have to deal with weather, pests, diseases, bad markets, defective equipment. I know. But if you're black, you shouldn't have to deal with discrimination. While I was there, I did what I could. And you got to keep going. This is the premier organization, in my opinion, for African American farmers. And I'm so appreciative of this award. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brother Espy. That ought to send us all back to church. And, surely the Lord is real, because the Lord has carried the Federation on shoulders for 50 years. This is the moment that Wendy and I want to thank you for this evening. And before we bring on our Executive Director, Mr. Cornelius Blanding, to give you the closing, I just want to remind you, look around the room at all the folk who are here. We want to see every one of you in Epps tomorrow. Okay.
I just want to just echo what Carol has said. This has been a distinct pleasure for me. You know, the Federation has always been my extended family, and we just love you all. Thank you again for allowing me to serve.